tri-party meeting with the Election Commission today saw various political parties raise their demands before key elections in 4 states later this year, as well as general elections next year. 2 primary issues came up in the meet. Opposition parties once again made a push to revert to paper ballots. There were concerns about failures of VVPAT machines in previous elections. And also, importantly, views were sought on capping of poll funds by the Election Commission. To speak on some of these issues, I'm joined now by S.Y. Qureshi, former Chief Election Commissioner. We're also speaking today with retired Major General Anil Verma of ADR, the Association for Democratic Reform. Welcome to both of you and thank you for speaking with us. Mr. Qureshi, I want to come first on the issue of poll funding. And the capping of poll funding for political parties. This is something that the Election Commission asked for views about. We know through a press release that the Congress party said that they were on board with it. How crucial do you think this reform is, especially in light of the big political battles we're going to see in the next few months?
Yes, I think there's a proposal about funding of elections has been around for quite some time, but it was a non-starter every time because it was not easy. I had proposed an alternative proposal of funding of political parties, not of elections, but of political parties based on their actual performance. And I had roughly calculated that for every vote, if 100 rupees are given to a political party, it will add up to, say, 5,500 crore rupees on the basis of voter turnout last time, which is more than what political parties collectively raise as funds and donations from different sources. So that will take care of their political needs, and their dependence on corporate sector will end, because there is no free lunch. If corporates donate 10, 15, 20 crores, they surely want some license, some concession in return, and that is what is not desirable in democracy.
Let me come to Anil Verma on this. Of course, Mr. Qureshi is speaking about an alternate that he had proposed earlier. But right now, do you think that there could be any movement, or is there any merit in the demand that expenses be capped for each party? Right now, of course, they're capped for individual candidates, but we all know that that doesn't seem to be working either.
Yes, you see, the cap on the individual candidate's expenditure is not working because the extra expenditure is done from the political party funds, and there is no cap on the political party funding. And as you are aware, the statistics prove this. ADR had carried out a survey, and after the 2009 elections, wherein 6,753 candidates' election expenditure affidavits were studied, and 99.5% of the candidates gave out the figures of only 45 to 55% having been spent. Only 4 out of that 6,753 said that they had spent about 90 to 95% of the limit. Now, if we recall, late Shri Gopinath Munde, in his affidavit of 2009, had given a figure of rupees 19.37 lakhs, but in a public rally, he had said that he spent 8 crores. And in this recent Supreme Court hearing, which was held on 21st August, just less than a week back, when the ban on criminals entering politics was being discussed, the AG, Mr. K.K. Venugopal said, and I quote, "The cap on the election expenditures is the biggest joke in this country. Candidates spend 30 crores in a constituency." Now, this is what the AG of the central government is telling the Supreme Court. So everybody is aware of the thing. The Election Commission has been pushing for it, but nothing seems to be happening. The basic issue which we feel is of, implementation and enforcement. And like Dr. Qureshi has suggested another method, but what the Election Commission has suggested this time is that the funding, or rather the limit, should be fixed for the political parties, depending on the number of the candidates, and multiplying it by that limit, and then whatever the total amount comes, that should be fixed as the ceiling for the political party expenditure. So now let's see whether it works.
Okay. Absolutely. The other big issue, of course, which came up, and Mr. Qureshi, I want to come to you in a little bit more detail on this, is parties again asking to go back to paper ballots. In fact...
No, 1 second. Let me just one correct.
Yes, okay. Go ahead.
One minute. Sorry, I had heard your question wrongly in the first place, and the issue is whether the political party funding should be capped.
Yes.
Absolutely, because that makes a mockery of any cap on the expenditure. Now a Lok Sabha candidate can spend 70 lakhs, but his party can spend 20 crores on him. Now what level playing field are we talking about? Therefore, the proposal to put a cap on political party funding is absolutely essential and very urgent, and I fully support it.
Well, what is the likelihood of it happening? Then would be my next question to you, Mr. Qureshi. Right now, we know that the Congress is agreeing to it. We don't know if other parties will. And could it be implemented in time for the next big election?
Yes, this is one reform which can be implemented immediately if the decision is taken, because it does not require any other backup arrangements, unlike simultaneous election when we have to produce machines. They have to be manufactured. So that is a time-taking process. In this case, once the decision is taken, it is implemented in the next half an hour.
Let me come to you then, Mr. Qureshi, about the other issue about a return to paper ballots. Now, EVMs have been under a cloud for a few months now. Several opposition parties have expressed their concerns. Then you had the VVPAT system that had some failures in the last few elections. And now, of course, there is a demand, let's go back to paper ballots. Do you think that the Election Commission can somehow find a middle path where the faith is restored and these questions about EVMs or the current process stop?
Yes, this EVM debate has gone on from the day EVMs were started in 1982. And every political party, and I repeat, every political party at some point or the other has questioned the machine. In fact, the biggest challenge was from BJP itself in 2009 when they wrote a book on the subject with the title "The Democracy in Danger." Now, in such a background, we have moved on. VVPAT was introduced in answer to all the doubts which were expressed in the past. Now the paper audit trail is created, and that we should now move on. Only thing is, recently there were some complaints about VVPAT malfunction, and CEC explained that was because of excess heating, and they have taken some corrective measures. That needs to be publicized. What worries me is that the debate has gone on for so long that it has gone beyond the political parties, now in the mind of the public. The political parties can always be persuaded, as we have seen in the past, but once it percolates down the mind of the people, it becomes very, very difficult, and the Election Commission should lose no time to solve it. And your question whether this is feasible, the Election Commission can solve it, I think they can do it very easily. The controversy can be killed right now. And what they need to do, that the count of the VVPAT machines, which according to the latest instruction is that only one machine in every constituency, which means 200 to 300 booths, only one machine slips will be counted. It is too little. Now political parties are demanding that it should be 5%, 10%, 20%. I believe Congress, some party even demanded 30%. Now, if the compromise can be arrived at on some percentage of VVPATs counted, it should be done immediately. And if that clinches the issue and that kills the controversy, I think Election Commission should grab this offer.
Mr. Verma, do you think there is any merit at all about the demand for return to paper ballot? There are a large number of parties that are making this demand as well.
Well, I am General Verma, not Mr. Verma. That's on the lighter side. But yes, I feel it's a retrograde step, this demand of the political parties, because as Dr. Qureshi also pointed out, if you see the history, the biggest complainant earlier was BJP. They even wrote a book, Mr. Narasimha Rao, and even Mr. Advani was, I think, associated with that book for some reason. Subramaniam Swamy went to the court and all that. So when the political parties lose elections, they start pointing towards the inefficacy of the EVMs and all that. Well, there have been some cases where doubts have been raised, but after investigation, it was found that, certain procedural errors had taken place by the people who were handling it. Earlier data had not been erased and something like that had happened. But I feel that what the Election Commission is saying, it's very difficult to tamper with these machines because they are always kept in safe places under lock and key, and there are various methods to ensure the checks are carried out in presence of the political parties before they are put into action. But yes, there is a certain degree of suspicion in the minds of the political parties, and now also trickling down to the common voter, that there is something wrong with these EVMs and the VVPATs. Therefore, what the Election Commission is planning is to increase the number of VVPATs and replace the old EVMs so that the failure rate is, as it is, very less. I think it is less than 1%. And they always have 20 to 25% reserves available, which are immediately put into place whenever there is a failure of an EVM. But yes, to make sure that the person, the voter, is satisfied that the vote is going exactly where he wants it to go, the proof can be in the form of the VVPAT slip. So they need to make sure that there are more VVPATs in the constituency instead of the very meager number which are available now. And that can happen with more VVPATs, and they have improved the design now. That's what the Election Commission has said. They are improving the type of the paper which is used in the VVPAT. And there's some, I think, increasing the time of the thing from a few seconds by a few seconds. So if all these measures are taken immediately, and the public confidence must be restored. But due to various factors, I mean, we can't go back to the ballot paper, and booth capturing and stuffing of ballot boxes and all that will start all over again. I feel that would be a retrogression.
All right, so no point in going retrograde is what Major Verma is saying. Since I have both of you, I want to take up one more subject which was not on the agenda of the meeting between all parties and the Election Commission today, but has been, talked about a lot, being pushed again and again by the Prime Minister and Amit Shah as well, which is the question of simultaneous polls. Now, Dr. Qureshi, this current CEC made it clear that it would be near impossible to have simultaneous polls anytime soon. There are not enough machines, etc. But there is this constant emphasis. Why do you think that is happening? Is there any permutation and combination where you see some semblance of simultaneous polls taking place within the next 8 months to a year?
No. CEC has made it very clear that without the availability of machines, adequate number of machines, simultaneous elections are not possible this time around. He has not killed the idea forever. He has just stated that it is not possible in the upcoming election, general election, because we won't have the machine. But the debate, of course, has been going on. There are pluses and minuses of this suggestion. There are, Prime Minister had mentioned, in fact before that it was in the BJP manifesto. Earlier, Mr. Advani in 2010 had talked about this proposal, simultaneous election. The advantages are that, if we are repeatedly in election mode, we spend too much of money. Secondly, because of the prolonged model code of conduct, normal life gets disrupted. Third thing, which they haven't said, that we are always in the corruption mode, because corruption in election is the root cause of all corruption in the country. Fourthly, communal and caste disturbances happen around the election time for polarizing the voters. So that will also end. So these are some of the good reasons why simultaneous elections are important. One more reason I would like to give is that every time there is an election, there will be a manifesto, there will be promises, there will be freebies offered. As a result, the economy takes a beating, because as they say, good politics is bad economics. Therefore, simultaneous election seem to be a good solution. However, there are arguments equally strong against it. What do people want? Poor people love repeated elections because that is the only power they have. Secondly, normally we know that MLAs and MPs don't come back to the voter for full 5 years. They show their face only at the time of next election. At least because of repeated elections, they have to keep coming back to the voter, which increases their accountability. Thirdly, the local issues should not get subsumed by the national issues and national personalities. That's a very important consideration, particularly for the regional parties, and that cannot be brushed under the carpet. So these are some of the reasons in favor of staggered election.
Absolutely.
I would even say, Tamanna, if you allow me, that 30,000 crores, which was estimated to be spent in 2014 election by political parties, actually helped the economy. The poor generated lots of work for the poor people, the political worker, the painter, the transporters, and others. So therefore, if this money gets recycled, so that's quite good.
All right. Of course, the Election Commission wants a cap on how much parties spend. That will be another difficult one to put into place. Major Verma, your view on simultaneous polls. My question is that if it seems unlikely in this round, then why the repeated emphasis on it again and again?
See, I'll give the contrarian view now. Basically, the thing is that there have been studies carried out, surveys carried out, and it was found that in 235 constituencies over a period of, I think, 5-6 years, and it was found that the party which wins in the center also tends to win in the states if the elections were held simultaneously. About 60 to 65% of the time this happens. So that can be one reason why this push is being given. But apart from that, now there are strong arguments against it in the sense that it affects the federal structure. It is not good for the regional parties because they have their own issues, and if like Dr. Qureshi also mentioned, that if their interests are subsumed when the combined elections are held, that's not good for our system. And my point is, one of the reasons given is governance comes to a halt. Why should the governance come to a halt? I don't understand. Isn't the complete government machinery supposed to work all the time? What is the necessity of the chief ministers and union cabinet ministers and the prime minister being in the canvassing mode all the time? They are supposed to be their constitutional authorities. They are supposed to do their work and not go around canvassing for bypolls and all that. I mean, that is ridiculous. So, this moral code of conduct is a wonderful thing, but, and people have also talked of tinkering with it, which we are strongly against because it is very good as it is. And that should not be tinkered at all. So, we feel that, and as the Chief Election Commission has already specified, that unless all the constitutional amendments are in place, there is no question of holding simultaneous elections.
All right. Well, a lot of issues that the Election Commission has to currently ponder on. There will still be a push and pull between political parties over paper ballots and VVPATs definitely going into the next election. Hopefully, there will be a middle path that the Election Commission will find. Thank you so much, Dr. S.Y. Qureshi and Major Verma, for speaking with us today.